All right, guys. Hey, it's Alex back with episode 44 of the HYPEWORKS podcast. You'll notice there's no Jake right now. Jake might join during this episode, which is kind of first for us, but we're going to crack on. We have Val here today. Val is in, where are you, Val?
Location wise?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, currently I'm in Pristina, Kosovo.
Okay, cool. That's a cool place. I saw that, what's that famous bay? The Kotor, is it?
Oh, that's
Like the
Montenegro actually. It's like
Oh, sorry,
it's
Montenegro.
like
Shit, sorry,
it's not that
that's
far. No,
terrible.
it's okay. I mean,
yeah,
no worries, man. It's like
yeah,
such a,
yeah.
I mean, the Balkans is like
yeah.
Balkanized. So it's
Balkans
all
is
small
is
countries. Yeah. But there's a
no,
bunch of like coastal places in Albania and Montenegro. It's nice. Yeah. A lot of good
yeah. I need to
nature and
get
mountains.
I
So
need to get down there. I've never been to like Balkans, so
this
cool.
is a perfect time. Spring is perfect time. So yeah.
Yeah, and as we were in Asia, so we're gonna. Well, it's a bit dark outside, so I'll close my curtains. But yeah, great to have you,
Okay.
Val. We've talked for like feels like a year, like I followed you on X and vice versa for a while as well. So, we've engaged quite a bit. So it's great to have you on. We're gonna get into it straight away because I just want to like know a little bit more about like what you've done and what you've been working on and so far in your career.
Yeah, sure. So I started my SaaS journey about 13 years ago. I've had one exit so far. Uh, I lost count of the products that I've had. Maybe I'm product number, I want to say 6 or 7, and I have another one that I'm launching soonish. Just launched one 2 months ago. So I'm becoming one of those people that hated others who did a lot of products because I said it's impossible. And I'm sort of
Yeah.
like doing the same. So right now I'm currently
Just, just,
running blog. Yeah, sure.
just to get into that quickly,
Mhm.
who was it that's kind of in your mind inspired you about the multi-product SaaS thing? Because one name comes to mind for me, it's John Yon Fook. He was the first guy that I saw talk about this concept.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did it. I think Peter Levels did it, maybe even
Levels, yeah,
before him. Uh, Honestly, I think with me, it's more out of necessity than trying to like follow in somebody's footsteps. And when I say a necessity, is trying to find a product that can hit the metrics that I sort of need and want. So this
yeah,
experimentation has been sort of trying to look for the niche or the industry where I can launch a product and sort of the growth is triggered more from the wave, the need of that industry, rather than me trying to do
yeah.
something out of the blue. But
Yeah, I feel
yeah.
there is a trend, right? Whenever there's a trend, people want to jump on it just for the sake of it, right? So that multi-product thing was like 12 startups
Hmm.
in 12 months kind of thing. Like it was like, oh, kind of look at me, like what I can do, rather than your approach was more like pragmatic. Like I'm doing this for, like I'm looking at metrics, I'm looking at like different markets. So that's actually quite cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's exciting. Like recently I've been trying to get to the right product by using SEO and trying to see like what people are searching for and where there's an
Yeah,
opportunity to get on the top 5. So more of that. But if I can go back, like way back, I think Basecamp is the one that they
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
do the multi-product as a marketing sort of thing, but they did many products. And they had Basecamp, the one that really struck out for them. But yeah, and I
yeah.
think I think the 12 thing for 12 months, I think marketing wise that worked like pretty good for a lot of people that I know on Twitter. So, but I cannot do that. There's no way. Don't have the
Yeah.
I don't know, don't have the headspace to get down that road.
No. I'm just starting on this journey with apps and stuff, and I can barely get like one app working. So it's like the idea of doing 12
Yeah.
apps is insane.
It
Yeah, I
is
think that was.
tough.
I mean, that's we're looking back a couple years or a few years. Like I think a lot's changed in that time. Like when you think about back then, like the whole market has changed. But yeah, you mentioned sort of base camp there. So you were always kind of building for B2B and like that kind of thing, or was there any B2C stuff going on?
So BlogMaker, my current product that has been live since I want to say 2022, is the only one that is in B2C. All my other products, the one that I've exited, Claritask, which is a task management product, that one was a B2B, strictly B2B. BlogMaker, I can't say that is completely B2C. It's sort of a B2P, business to prosumer. But I really don't like that sort of dynamic a lot. The volatility of clients and cheaper prices and churn and all that. In B2B, that is more attractive. However, B2B's hard part is trying to get the clients because sales cycles are longer. But once you get them, the chances of them leaving are really lower, much lower than in B2C. So my sort of initial love has been B2B. And now my new products are B2B as well. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's like interesting. So you've actually been in B2C and B2B, and you've kind of quickly identified like what's the differences between the markets, and obviously now you're doubling down on the more on the B2B side. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, you highlight there like stickiness of customers. What are some other like big sort of B2B challenges like you think?
I think the sales cycle, the one that I mentioned, I think that's the biggest one.
Mm,
You could have a product that has an opportunity, there's a need for it. But I find it in B2B that you still need that human connection, that sort of relationship building with prospects. And that doesn't come so hard to me because I come from an agency background as well.
yeah,
Like that was from college and on. I worked for agencies and small design studios. I had one of my own. And sort of that human connection has always appealed to me. Like I felt always okay with it. So now with my new product that I launched about 2 months ago, I find myself talking to people on LinkedIn, going to various networking events, trying to see who my friends have in their network so they can maybe make an intro. And that part of the whole game is really okay with me, but the sales cycles, they take a little bit longer. And
yeah,
it's not that they're trying to ignore you. It's most of that the whole process is a bit longer for them to be onboarded into my new software, especially if they're leaving something they have. So, you need
yeah.
a lot of patience there for that. But that's, I think, the biggest sort of hurdle.
Yeah, and also like I think I've worked in B2C and B2B in my career before, and like in B2C, like if we wanted to buy like a product, like it could be a physical good or software, it was pretty much straightforward. Like we would just go and buy it, we just get like some money, a credit card, and buy it. Um, I have many stories about that, but I won't go into it. But basically, yeah, and B2B, like it feels like everything goes through procurement, right? Like an IT
Mhm.
department. They have like an Okta or some kind of auth tool, and then
Mhm.
if your app is not integrated into that, then it's tough. Yeah, how do you find that kind of process?
Yeah, exactly. Clients, the ones that I'm talking to right now for my B2B, new B2B SaaS, most of them have some sort of integration that needs to be integrated into the software. But I'm a developer, so I'm okay with building integrations that they need. The price point makes sense. My new app starts at $99 per month, which recently I felt like it's underpriced. When I'm talking to these clients who are huge, they maybe have like 5 million in revenue,
Yeah,
maybe 300
yeah,
employees. Like 99, like I'm like undercharging. So I've been
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
about
yeah,
raising prices, but current point right now, current goal is to just get as many enterprise clients and then, also improve the app because the app is not there yet in a way of
hmm
what my users need. So once you get to a point where it's like really solving that pain point that it's aiming for, then maybe there'll be a room to increase pricing and go
yeah, yeah.
higher up in the market. Yeah.
We'll have to talk about AI at some point. We've talked about AI at like every podcast episode for the last 30 episodes. We did well last week because we managed to stretch it out until 20 minutes, but we'll get on to that. But I want to just touch upon B2B on the marketing side. So I think there's a feeling among a lot of people that B2B marketing is kind of boring. When you
Mm.
compare that to like B2C, um, you know, what do you think about that from like a developer and a B2B brand side? Do you think that's fair, or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, if I can quickly mention the B2C area and sort of the ones that are currently, in my mind, making it, are the ones who are sort of standing out with their personality or something they're doing along the lines of building their app. There are a few names on Twitter that have done this successfully. And I think when you go into B2B, I think that sort of approach is not necessary. I don't think it is. Like you don't have to stand out so much as a personality because you're not trying to reach as many people as a B2C app needs. So
Mm,
in case of a B2B app, maybe your prospecting is in lower digits, and that's all you need to make your app go to 10K MRR. So I think marketing in that sense, when I'm trying to think now for my new B2B SaaS, I haven't even thought about marketing at all. Like when I launched it, I went straight into direct sales. I'm like, I'm going to hit this immediately to learn more about the clients because sales gives you that feedback immediately. And with marketing, you can try all these different tactics. And especially being a developer, you have this sort of impatience of, marketing not being very immediate in terms of feedback. And that's kind of tiring for someone like me. I want, like, when I launch something, I know it works or it doesn't. It's very binary. So sales is like that too. I think
so
the hardest
actually,
part about, yeah.
yeah, just to frame the marketing piece then. So like in my B2C days when we launched a new product, like a smartphone, there was a big 6 month pre-launch, and then there's like a big bang moment when the thing launches, right? Like an Apple,
Hmm.
like an iPhone launch. So what you're saying is B2B is basically flipping the narrative on the marketing side and saying launch quickly, get feedback, and then develop the marketing as you go along.
I think so. And especially recently, I've been thinking of going into a few fairs and conferences and use that sort of to make, give my SaaS some brand awareness among specific industries that I want to target. So I think as far as marketing goes, I really want to go old school and really go down to the source, like even if it's, fairs, expos and whatnot, and then
Yeah,
hit the target, especially with sort of direct sales, but that sort of pre-launch and waiting out the period and doing all those things, I don't really have that luxury. Like I need to know if this app is any good, quickly. If it's not, I don't really have the budget or runway to like test it out for so
yeah,
long. And also, I'll get bored. Like I won't have any motivation to sort of wait out that long and have all these strategies and tactics and build out
yeah.
softly. So yeah.
That's a good point actually. Some people, they're the way they're wired. Like there's a guy I follow on X. He's building like the company's friend. This company called Friend. He got viral because he bought the friend.com domain name for $20 million
Okay.
or something crazy. He's an interesting guy, and he's been building this for like over a year, maybe more, like 2 years. And like he strikes me as the kind of guy that's exactly the type that can just wait. He can he can
Okay.
he can do everything like slowly behind the scenes. Obviously, he's got VC money, but like his personality is a perfect match for this startup. Whereas other people, yeah, you saying like they need feedback, they need iteration. Like it just I think it's a lot on your personality as well. I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I also think that sort of the industry that you're in, that your app is in, I think that has to do a lot with it. Like, in my opinion, you don't want to wait too long because if you've seen an opportunity right now, maybe in 2 years that opportunity won't exist anymore. And
Yeah.
that's what I think, going fast into the market and, especially now with AI, you don't really know what's going to happen. Are we going to have any SaaS laying around in 2, 3, 5 years time? Are we going to be using agents? Our company's going to be using agents? I don't know. It's really an interesting sort of
Yeah.
time we're living in. So yeah.
Yeah. You did mention sales, and we haven't actually talked too much about sales in this pod. Because salespeople are busy. I think that's probably one we've actually pitched, like on some guests, sales related guests, but they're so busy, they're constantly
Mhm.
like, you know, um, chasing leads and stuff. So,
Right.
um, like I'm not a salesperson, but I've worked with salespeople, and I feel they're, again, we're talking about being wired a certain way. Like they're wired a certain way. They're not really interested in product that much or branding or
Hmm.
marketing. They're just like they want to close, right? That's why they exist. It's all about hitting numbers and targets and closing.
Hmm.
So I think for people like us, what can we learn from that, like and doing sales the best we can without being salespeople?
I'm not a classical salesperson, and I know the types that you're talking about. Like I've worked with them in the agencies that I worked in, and they're all about the close. Most of the time, they had no idea what they're selling in terms of like, hey,
Yeah.
we have this agency, this is what we do, and
Yeah.
they would get to the close. Like that was sort of expertise. And
I think
whenever
they
they
almost
would
pride they almost pride themselves in not knowing in some ways, right?
exactly, I think yeah, exactly. It's like a badge of honor. And whenever the prospect had any questions, they would tap us and say, "Hey, this guy has more questions. What do we say?" So that was very interesting. I think for me it's a little bit more different. I had a small design firm, about 6 people plus me, so it was 7 of us. I did most of the prospecting and sales, and what I did, I went to a lot of networking events, etc. And I did look to close the sale most of the time, but I also wanted to know who I'll be working with, because in agency, as you know, you're working with a client for a long time, and if you're not vibing for whatever reason, it's going to be a long time and really hard time for both, them and us. So I think that carried over now with me to my new B2B SaaS. And the way I do it is I'm trying to look for people that have the problem that my app is solving. Usually looking at my friends' LinkedIn profile, friends, and asking for an intro. Talking to my friends in real life. Most of my friends luckily work in some big companies. And the reason I'm laughing is because some of the people online have been more helpful than my real friends in my
Yeah.
life. Most of them, when I ask them for an intro, they sort of try to brush me off because they're
Yeah.
so busy. They're like high up in the position. They don't want to make any intros or use any
Yeah,
of their
yeah, yeah.
tokens with whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
levels
yeah,
they
yeah.
have in their
It's
company.
corporate life, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, you
Yeah.
a-holes, like you're not helping me. And I have
Right.
real time, online friends who are helping me most. But usually the way I'm tackling it, I try to get with them on a call, trying to demo the product, try to be as helpful as I can. I know the product in and out. I know the problem in and out. It's a new problem that for me that I never knew it existed. So in the past few months, I've been learning a lot about it, especially through sales calls and demoing the product. So, to circle back to your question, I'm not a sort of a typical salesperson. I'm tried more to like build a relationship, because even though it's a SaaS, they're still going to be contacting me as they grow about some integration, and I want to be helpful. And
Yeah.
one thing that the agency life has given me, which I like a lot, is to really care about, the people that you're serving, because like I said, you're going to be dealing with them for a long time. And if you don't
Yeah.
care about what they're doing, then it's like super hard. So yeah.
Yeah. I think that's important because like it's kind of a dirty word in the tech software industry, like service. Like if you say like service to a lot of people in tech, they're kind of like yuck, like everything
Right.
should be automated and self-service, all that kind of thing. But unless you're at Google and you're like a printing money type situation,
Hmm.
they're famously bad at customer service because they don't need to. Like if you don't
Absolutely.
have
Yeah.
that, then you're kind of you need to do that, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I think a lot of people mistake SaaS as a sort of like a hands-off
Yeah.
type of business. And the higher you go up, say from B2C, B2B, B2P, and then B2B or enterprise, B2E, I guess, you find out that it's more about relationships, and that sort of agency
Yeah.
life comes back into play a lot more. And I think Tiny Seed is having some sort of an event, micro launch, Rob Walling. They're having it in London, I think. It's like a growth event. And Brennan Dunn, I don't know if you're familiar with, he's been building products forever. One of his arguments is that even though you're a B2B, I'm not sure I agree with it completely, but sort of touches on this point of service. Even though you're B2B, you should still think about consulting in a way, because you could build a relationship long term where that client can potentially use the apps that you're selling. Um,
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to consulting. I want to clear that out. It's been like it was super hard doing that, but that service does come into play at the higher
Yeah.
you go into
I think just to add
into
on to that,
yeah.
another thing I've noticed is like the really big platforms like Shopify, in ecom, Zero in accounting. They all have like huge agency partner networks, and that is
Hmm.
essentially them outsourcing their service. But they still they still treat it as like a really important thing, and they
Hmm.
incentivize all these guys to provide the best service, right? Because that makes their platform more sticky.
Absolutely. I was listening as I was learning more about my B2B. I found out one competitor. They're pretty big. I think they're like up in 7 digits ARR. Uh, and what they're doing is actually They have a SaaS, they call it a SaaS, but it's basically a new installation for every one of their clients, which was amazing to me, because I mean, how do you do that? Their
Yeah.
team was like, I think about 20 people. But the reason they do that is because their clients pay a lot. They have they're making a lot of money per client, and they want to have specific custom integrations built for them, for that client, instead of bloating the entire SaaS. So
Hmm.
I think that was interesting, just to hear that people are doing things, and just realizing that not everything is set in stone, because I think people come into SaaS thinking like, hey, this is like an automatic business that like prints money. You never talk to your clients, but in reality, it's never really like that. You're sort of trying to build a stable business that is bringing money all the time, and whatever way that goes, and if you can afford it with your service and the time, then why not?
Yeah.
So,
We've done well. We've got to 20 minutes without mentioning AI, but we must tackle AI. It does feel in the last year, let's reframe it. ChatGPT came out 2022, end of 2022. So we've had basically 2 full years with this. It does feel in the last year like a lot more people and startups are incorporating AI in a big way. It might be their name,
mhm.
like it might be the technology itself, like the whole storytelling side. We can't ignore it, but like, where do you stand in terms of like positioning with AI?
All right, so with AI as a concept, I'm very bullish on it. I think it's going to solve a lot of our problems as, as people, as society, economically, medicine, science. I think it's going to, give people a faster sort of rate into solving problems, various problems, which is great. I think it's wonderful. Uh, if I think about it in terms of my business, or sort of, where I'm going in my career as a bootstrapper, as a product maker, I
Yeah.
really don't know at this point what's going to happen. There is fear, quote unquote, that
Yeah.
SaaS might not exist. Some people are mentioning it. I'm really not sure if that's going to happen, because as fast as businesses want to adopt it, I think their internal procedures might not let it happen as fast. One news that came out, I think, a day ago or a few days ago, was that this company, I think their name was Klarna something.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really don't
Klarna.
know
Yeah.
what they do. I
It's
think they
it's
fired
like
their
a
entire staff.
but it's like a buy now pay later, so people can pay in
Okay.
installments. Yeah.
All right. So I think they fired most of their staff about 2 years ago,
Yep.
and they just
Yep.
announced that they're bringing their staff back in.
Yeah.
Um, So I think, like it's so I don't want to say AI hype is sort of like NFT a few years ago. I don't think it is. I think it's a real thing. And where it's gonna go, I really don't know. It's up for
I
grabs,
I
and I don't
watched
want. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched Sam Altman on like I think he was talking at Sequoia Capital. Like it was an event at Sequoia Capital, and the guy asked him like, if you're a startup, like what should you do to not get eaten alive by OpenAI? Um, I thought that was a really interesting question, given it's the founder of OpenAI, right? But
What
he
was the
kind
answer?
well, he kind of like just said like, yeah, like in summary, basically saying like, just don't like be obviously building like a roadmap that's aligned with ours. Get out the way.
Mm,
That was his answer,
right.
basically, right? So I mean, that's quite fair. And I watched another one by a guy who was he was one of the he was the CTO at Facebook, and he started
Mm,
this company called Sierra AI. He was at Salesforce, and basically he said that like he believes in like vertical AI and building like deep knowledge in a specific
mhm.
thing. Like, so for example, his one is customer service. Like his cut startup is customer service. So like his AI agents are only focused on that. It doesn't matter which
Okay.
industry. I thought that was a really smart way to say it, because if you try and compete like on a broad category against these big LM like platform app companies, then you're going to be struggling.
Mhm.
But if you really kind of niche down and focus, then you have a better chance.
I think so. I agree with that. Like I definitely plan to include AI, especially in my new to B2B SaaS. It's going to be some form of it in there. I have to, because especially the app that I've launched has a lot of reporting included in there. I want to make it very easy for my users to create various reports. Like they don't have to be
Yeah.
sort of tied into my invention of how reporting should be or follow some old ways of doing reporting. Like they can pull out any different any report they need. I think that will be definitely in there. Also, somebody yesterday, I was at this local event yesterday. Somebody asked me about how much I use it on my day-to-day work, and I use it a lot. However, I didn't use it in terms of a lot of people recently how they're using it sort of like a vibe coding movement where you tell it to write a code and then you plug it in and then you iterate. I don't want to do that. I don't like doing that. I like to know what my code is doing. So I work with it with a lot of guardrails, sort of I guide it what to give me. I
Yeah.
give it a lot of menial tasks to do for me, which is, a great improvement into my productivity. I think those are great, but the thing that it has eliminated the need for is like I used to use some contractors for whatever tiny, projects, etc. Like I don't do that anymore. So that person
Yeah.
who would have made some money from me hiring them, they're not getting hired. So that is tricky. And I hear a lot of developers are being let go. So
Hmm.
I don't know, in those terms, like, is this a good thing? Like, are we really like taking the human part out of the equation a lot?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's a
I
hype.
think.
Maybe it's some sort of a hype that will eventually,
Yeah. Yeah,
come
I think
down. I
so.
don't
And
know.
the question that on my mind right now as I'm building my own app is um, the UX design side. So like all the apps pre ChatGPT were built around menus and search and like a lot of
Mm,
like those aspects. And now all of a sudden, all of these AI chat apps are literally chat, right? Talk to me, you know?
yeah.
Um, so I think that's a big question for SaaS. Everyone in SaaS right now is: do you throw away the old UX UI that everyone's kind of used to, and then just
Hmm.
put a chat box in there, like for the next generation? Like, or do you have to kind of like hedge your bets and say no, we're gonna try and do everything? I think that's a hard
I'm
question.
curious if this question, I know it's not really a good comparison, but I'm curious if when Google came out with their single page search bar, nothing on it, if anybody asked this question from the UX standpoint, did they say, I can't really go
Must have,
back that
yeah,
far. Did they say, hey, should we all clean up our, UI now and have like I don't know, like a search um
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question, man. Like in so many levels. And I think everybody trying to predict things, it's very hard at this point. Like we don't know. And I think everybody's gonna be wrong. Maybe we go back to, not using it at all. Like we get bored and we find out how repetitive it is and
yeah.
um
And
how
the
dull
other
it
thing,
is.
yeah, I'm playing with these apps right now, these AI coding apps. I'm not a developer, I'm a marketing guy,
Okay.
and they're fun. Like I'm learning a lot, but you do get prompt fatigue. So like when you keep having to prompt like over and over again, it is
Hmm.
tiring. Like it gets, and then refactoring all the code and stuff. Like it's
Yep.
just like it's exhausting.
Right. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
I think it's an exciting. I think we're reaching the end of the excitement, the initial excitement from when ChatGPT came out to now. And like you're saying, like you get prompt fatigue after some point, and you sort of want things to be more ready as a user interface allows you to. So I think at the end it will sort of mesh up into one thing where they're both working, like both AI and the existing UX. I don't think it'll be
yeah,
that bleak, to be honest. I think a lot of people are thinking that it's like doomsday soon. I don't think it will be like people will be people at the end, I think they will
that's true.
use things that they're used to. I don't think we're gonna switch to something immediately, but it's a good thing. I think I'm bullish. Again, I'm really bullish about AI. I think it will solve a lot of problems that we're facing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Just switch gears. I was just thinking about, yeah, like I've been building this app now for like 9 months. I've been in this SaaS business, I guess you could say, for 9 months, and I've learned in that 9 months like so much stuff just through trial and error. Um, and I think one of the cool things about like the SaaS community is like people generally do share their learnings, like whether it's sales, whether it's
mhm.
development, design. Like what's the big things that you've kind of learned like in your SaaS journey, like the most important stuff that you kind of would like tell other people just starting?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the most recent lessons that I keep sharing with a lot of people is this quote I'm going by this year. It's do not find yourself in the waiting room a lot. And what I mean by that is that up to a couple of months ago, maybe like up to end of 2024, the way that I did things, I did them the way I knew they should be done. Even, if I'm talking about marketing or building, etc., I would do something, launch it, and then
Hmm.
wait for people to see, even though I knew deeply in my heart that, it's not the right trajectory. But I would always, think like, hey, I need to work harder, or I need to do this extra thing, or the app needs this extra feature. Now this year has been, a lot about, don't be in the waiting room. Just keep going. If something doesn't feel right, just change immediately, because world moves so fast. And like we were talking before, like 2 years to wait for an app and work in the background, for me, like that's an eternity, especially in SaaS,
Yeah.
because things
Hmm.
change so fast. And I think that rapid sort of thing does cause a lot of problems. Like recently, I made a few mistakes with pricing in BlogMaker, but I'm glad I did, because those sort of mistakes, quote unquote, are leading me to that sweet spot of where the pricing should be at the end of it all. Before, I used to like give things so much time, and that wasn't good because I wasted a lot of time. One thing that waiting does, it gives you experience, but it gives you, a lot of lost time. So I think that's the biggest lesson that I can share, that I just started applying this recently, just don't be in the waiting room, just keep going. Don't break things like Facebook used to have, that, go fast and break things. Like, don't try not to break things, but go fast and learn. And then use a lot of
Yeah.
trial and error to get to where you need to be, So
I agree with that, and I think the mistake I made way back was lacking a sense of urgency. So when you
mm,
come from the corporate world, like things move slow, things move very very slow, and you get used to that. And then when you start like building stuff, you're kind of like still in that mode where you're like, okay, I'm just gonna do this, do this, do this. Like it's very process driven, and
check the
then
boxes.
yeah, and then you see these guys like launching stuff, just like the pace and the
Mhm.
speed is just like that takes a bit of getting used to, that sense of urgency, and it's hard to, like, humans are lazy by nature. It's hard to kind of build
Yeah.
that muscle memory. But I think once you get it, it sticks. Like if you can get it, then you can kind of repeat that
Yeah,
over and
absolutely.
over
And
again.
the biggest lesson that I've learned from my wife, she runs two flower stores, flower shops, and she has an art background. She's graduated with, I think, printmaking degree, and she's always been into, like, flowers, etc. So she's had her business for about 15 years now or so. She does very, very well, and she doesn't have that background in corporate where there's a lot of process and everything.
Yeah,
And when she
yeah,
first started out, the way she did things by reacting at how her buyers were coming in, or just adopting to different trends, etc. And when I was looking at her back then, I was like, you shouldn't do it like this. You should do, like, this is the steps, because I came from sort of a corporate agency, and she's done very well
yeah,
for herself. And, I started looking at her. I'm like, she's doing so much better just by following
yeah, yeah,
trends,
yeah, yeah.
just reacting, not in a chaotic way, just reacting to what people want, which is the basis
Hmm.
of all business. So I
That's
think that's a
another
big
good point.
lesson.
Another good point actually is a mistake I made, and probably you did as well, is over engineering. So like you
Yes.
kind of you've got a plan in your head about what you're going to do and which
Mhm.
technology you're going to use, and then you just over engineer the thing, like so go for
Absolutely.
it.
I've been there. I've been there. And it's like, the more products I do, the less I do. Um, because, like, you can plan everything, have every process, follow every process in the book. At the end, when you give it to users, they have the final answer. It's like that, Mike Tyson quote, like, everybody has a plan until
Yeah,
they get punched in the face. And the
yeah.
punching in the face is the actual user, using
Right.
your app. Like, that's the
My
biggest punch you
first
get.
my first app, I couldn't wait to get into AWS because everyone's talking about
Okay.
AWS, and I got in there. I'm like, holy crap! Like, look at all these amazing tools. Like, I'm going to use their email sending. I'm going to use their S3. Like, and I started using all these tools, and I got my first bill, and I was like, holy shit! Like, this is not good. I need to give
You're
up
right. Yeah.
AWS. Yeah, and now like
Absolutely. Yeah.
there's like a lot of really lightweight like apps on the market, like Supabase and
Mhm.
stuff, and it's very minimal. Like just get your product running and go from there.
I know, and you don't have to have everything in your app, you know. I think a
Yeah,
lot of people like think that they have to be better than the competition. And the
yeah,
more that I do this thing, the more I realize that it's how you speak with your app, like what your app stands for, what it says. It could be even the H1 in your website, you know, like who is it targeting? It could be that. And, you know, you could beat your competition in a specific niche if you just talk the right talk, you know, if you're reaching the right people. And it doesn't have to be better
right.
than the other app. Of course, it has to do the job, you know, properly, but it doesn't have to be everything, you know. So
I'm just going to shout
that's
out
another
an
lesson.
app. Yeah, I'm going to shout an app called Bank Statement Converter, bankstatementconverter.com. And it's a very simple website. You go there, and there's like a just one page, and you can upload a PDF bank statement. It converts it um, into like any other format. And
Okay.
the guy posts his MRR like every month on X. It's like it's up to the right. It's massive.
Wow.
Very, very
And who
simple
uses that? I
product.
guess people want it
Accountants.
export.
I think it's all
Ah,
bookkeeping people.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's
Unbelievable. There you go. Simple.
yeah, that's a classic example.
And it's probably
Great
just a
man.
button like upload, right?
Yeah,
Like we were
yeah.
talking
I
like
mean,
search.
yeah. I think the backends, like transcribing like PDFs and stuff like that with bank statements is hard. I think all the magic's the
Right.
back end, but the front end's just like, you know, upgrade. Like at one, you get one
Mhm.
free per day, and then you have to upgrade. That's just
Yeah,
base
it's
model.
amazing. I think I just heard the other day there's an app that does PDF conversion from other things or to PDF. And I think they do like 20K MRR just with
Yeah.
that, you know, which is amazing. Like I know the backend, like you said, has a lot of things, you know, going on, but at the end of the day, it's just a PDF converter, you know.
And yeah, and
Uh,
that comes back to over engineering. Like sometimes just the simple
yeah.
ideas cut through the noise and win.
And one other thing that you know I've learned and is very important, which completely you know bypassed initially, is distribution. I know it sounds so simple, like you have to have your distribution, you know, locked in. It would, you know, SEO, ads, I don't know, in-person meetups, you know, whatever. It has to be like a set distribution channel that brings people to at least try your app, you know. Yeah, so
Yeah, and that's very hard. That takes a lot of trial and error, right?
it does, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Awesome. Right, man. We're just gonna wrap up. We always ask a question to every guest, and it's a very on the spot type question. So take your time, but um, it's very open ended. So if you could make
Sure.
any prediction about anything like startup, SaaS, business, crypto, like what's like one hunch you have that like you think's gonna come true in the next kind of next few years?
Well, I have like it's a great question. I don't know what's going to happen in the next few years. Things are moving so fast, but I sort of have a prediction, and I even have a blog post about this. I think the title
Oh
of the
damn,
post
we need
is,
to link to this in the description.
and it's very short article. The title of the article is Year 2300, and
Mm,
that's I don't know how many years. I think
yeah.
275 years from now.
Yep. Yep.
And my dream and my wish, I mean, we're not going to be there, or we will maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of
Ooh,
people
who
saying,
knows?
like, you know, longevity and whatnot.
Yeah.
My prediction and my wish at some point is doesn't have to do with like product building or anything, but I think the way we're going at this chaotic sort of intersection that we are with like wars and, you know, there's a lot of prosperity on one side, and then on the other side you have a lot of, you know, wars and famine and whatnot. And I think, you know, as we're going to grow and get more intelligent, and I think especially AI will help us realize a lot of these things. I think at some point we're not going to have governments. I think we're going to reach a point where we're sort of solving things in a more sort of democratic way, and not the current democracy we have where we elect people for whatever promise they make to us and then they go act on their own and do whatever they want. I think we'll reach a point where we're sort of, I think Switzerland at this point is sort of a model where they vote a lot on a lot of things, on a lot of issues. People vote continually, not
Yeah.
just once every 4 years or whatever the rules are with countries. So I think we'll reach a point where we're like sort of solving a lot of our issues in a more direct democracy sort of way. And yeah, that's sort of my prediction. And most it's not a prediction, it's hope at this point that we're going to reach that point where we're like sort of living better because we have the means. And it's sad that we're not
Yeah.
living that. You know, we have the means, we have the technology, we have everything, but we don't have the wisdom yet
Yeah.
to do
I
that.
think
You
that
know,
ties
so
that could tie into blockchain. That could be a crypto episode. Like I'm
that could
sure
be that. I think, yeah. I think
we've
that's a
actually
great
had
point. Yeah.
we had some crypto people on before, so I need to find a crypto
Yeah.
person to explain how blockchain can run countries.
I know. It's like crypto, I think, has such a nasty sort of connotation. You know, I think blockchain, if we just like, you know, reuse blockchain mostly and like try to stick it to people's head, like, you know, this could be the future where we're like really managing, you know, our well-being. But I think it has to be like a huge paradigm shift to get to there. But, you know, a loaded answer, but thanks for asking it.
Yeah, Val. So what's
Yeah.
the best way for people to kind of follow you, like X and LinkedIn? What will be the main ways?
I'm active on Twitter, X,
Yeah.
and on Blue
Yeah.
Sky, Val Sopi, all together, one word, and my website valsopi.com. These are my, you know, points of contact, and LinkedIn lately. I've been active
Oh
there.
yeah. That's another
So
episode. LinkedIn's another episode.
it is a
No,
different
good.
place.
LinkedIn is a very different place.
Yes, a lot
All
of
right, man.
well-meaning
Good.
people, but it's different. Yeah. So
Indeed. We'll have you on
yeah,
next year. We get an update on how things are moving.
absolutely, man. Yeah, it was a pleasure being here. Thanks for the invite and the talk.
Great stuff, guys. See you in the next episode. Take care. Bye bye.